I am Wilhelm Helsingius, and I have psychology and cognitive psychotherapy degrees. Welcome to episode 9 of the Love Unconditionally Handbook. In this section, we explore the theme of shame, what it is, where it comes from, and how it can begin to soften. Shame is a deeply human experience, one that can contain several core emotions at once, along with thoughts, and can be profoundly limiting, even crippling. But at the same time, healthy shame is incredibly important. Unhealthy shame is the experience of there is something wrong with me as a person. Not that I did something wrong, but that I am wrong. At the same time, someone carrying unhealthy shame may be more or less unaware of it. This kind of shame can show itself through the person's superiority, anger, need for control, perfectionism, emotional numbness, or withdrawal. May I ask, what is your relationship to shame? To the shame within you? Or do you perhaps believe that you don't carry any shame at all? But what is shame, really? Where does it come from, and how does it affect us? Did you know that shame exists in all of us? If you do not dare to feel or connect with your shame, it can prevent you from discovering who you truly are and what you genuinely need on a deeper level. Two faces of shame. Shame can show up in two different ways, healthy shame and unhealthy shame. Healthy shame is a vital part of being human. It helps us live side by side with others. Without it, we might act in ways that harm both ourselves and those around us. It reminds us to show care and respect, so we can build trust and feel safe with one another. When we live in connection with our healthy shame, we are more likely to be met with kindness in return. Long ago, shame played an important role in survival. Even today, we depend on one another more than we might think. But many of us have lost touch with that interdependence, and with our healthy shame. When someone is disconnected from their healthy shame, they may behave in ways that hurt others without realizing it, and without regret. Unhealthy shame, on the other hand, keeps us from being who we really are. It creates a false image of ourselves, frozen and distorted. If you carry unhealthy shame, you may find it difficult to take up space, speak up, or believe your needs matter. But it doesn't always look like shrinking back. Unhealthy shame can also show up as overcompensation, putting on a mask of pride, control, or even superiority or aggression. It becomes a kind of armor, built to protect against helplessness, worthlessness, or feeling not enough. Sometimes, the person who puffs themselves up the most is the one who, deep down, feels the smallest. And they may not even be aware of it. Your relationship with shame. How is your relationship with shame? Are you trying to get rid of it? The more you accept your shame and build a relationship with it, the less power it holds over you. You don't need to carry unhealthy shame for the rest of your life. And most importantly, if you do carry it, it's not your fault. Where unhealthy shame comes from. Unhealthy shame often grows out of repeated humiliation, unmet needs, insecurity, abandonment, or guilt, especially from someone you depended on. When we feel helpless and can't protect ourselves or resolve the pain, the experience of helplessness becomes overwhelming. We begin to see it as something dangerous. To cope, we develop protective behaviors. We might disconnect from our healthy shame, from our deeper needs, and from our true selves. Where healthy shame comes from. Healthy shame develops when we are loved, seen, and have our needs met. It helps us care for others, not out of fear, but from a natural sense of connection, caring, and goodwill. When we feel safe to be ourselves, our empathy and consideration grow. Even if past wounds sometimes push us to act otherwise, this core remains within us. Shame and anger. Shame, though often quiet and hidden, can also show up as intense anger. Many devastating actions, even school shootings or brutal acts, can have roots in deep shame. That's why it's so important to see that highly withdrawn or aggressive behaviors often signal unresolved shame. Instead of isolating those who act out, what they often need is belonging, compassion, and understanding. That doesn't mean approving of the behavior, it means understanding the reason behind it and responding in ways that help and heal. And as I did say earlier, but said in slightly different words, shame doesn't always show itself loudly. Sometimes it takes a quieter form, a sharp glance, a hard word or voice, or distance. It can look like strength, but often it's something entirely different. Aggression and surface-level hardness, born out of helplessness and shame. Because shame rarely grows from what we do. More often, it grows from what we felt, or what we were never allowed to feel. When we stood alone in something that was too big, too heavy to carry or make sense of on our own. Shame is often born in helplessness. When something overwhelming happened, and no one was there to carry us through it. And when that helplessness takes root, when we are left alone in it, something hard begins to form. A protective shell. A mask of strength. Not always visible, but built to make sure we never feel that way again. Never again that same shame. Never again that helplessness. For some, it becomes a sharpened intelligence. For others, an upper hand. A coldness, a harshness, a demand. And sometimes, pure and raw aggression, even evil. It's not about being bad. It's about how terrifying it was to be small. It's easy to judge what we see. But what happens if we look inside? What if you begin to understand that the one who raises their voice might once have gone unheard? That the one who needs to be right, first, or best, may never have felt enough? that what looks like superiority might actually be an old tarpaulin or burden. A heavy, grey weight of shame that someone is trying to live under. Maybe without even knowing it. And for the one who carries this shame, even the idea of being free from it can feel threatening or too much. Almost impossible to imagine. But you are not your shame. It isn't true. It's an image, painted by someone else's inability to see you. And the beautiful thing is, you can begin to choose another image. Another mirror to meet yourself in. One that reflects who you've always been. And always had the right to be. Inherited shame. Some of the shame we carry doesn't even come from our own lives. It was passed down, like an invisible inheritance, from family, culture, or past generations. Recognizing this can be a powerful step toward letting it go. And remember, it doesn't matter where the shame comes from, the key to freeing yourself from the burden of unhealthy shame is in your own hands. Helping someone with shame. The most important principle is this: never add to someone's shame. Imagine carrying a heavy, dark tarpaulin. Some collapse under its weight. Others puff themselves up, appearing proud or aggressive. But inside, they often feel lost. They may lash out, misread kindness, or push others away. They long for safety, but fear vulnerability. To reach them, offer respect, patience, and steady compassion. Sometimes, no matter how much care you offer, it won't feel like enough. Their past pain may be so overwhelming that trust feels impossible. Remember, this isn't you failing. Some overcompensators may need such a deep sense of safety that nothing ever feels like enough for them. They must find the courage to receive, to make themselves vulnerable, despite their fears, by still choosing trust, choosing to pause, and letting go of their defenses, despite it all. Final thoughts. At the heart of every overcompensator is an insecure child. A little girl or boy longing for love, safety, and understanding, even if they act as though they don't need anyone. If you're dealing with someone aggressive, manipulative, or superior, remember: love, patience, and firm boundaries go hand in hand. Protecting your own well-being is not weakness. It is self-care. Clear boundaries bring stability and a sense of safety, and feeling safe is exactly what those carrying shame truly need. Some people are so deeply rooted in survival strategies that they resist all connection to their own vulnerability or healthy shame. In such cases, boundaries may be the only thing that reaches them. And sometimes, just sometimes, when their defenses fail, you may glimpse a frightened child underneath. This isn't healthy shame or true humility. It's a moment of exposure and helplessness. Even then, their defensive self may return quickly. This cycle can be exhausting. But know this: lasting change can only come when the person is ready. When they choose to stop blaming, stop lashing out, and stop acting superior, as if they didn't need anyone, and instead begin to face their pain. Because underneath all that armor, there is someone real. Someone longing to be free. Someone who deserves to come home to themselves. Well then, it's time once again for some practical exercises. Write an empathetic letter to your inner child. Purpose: to begin healing the shame that may have taken root in your childhood. How to do it: write a letter to your inner child, the part of you that experienced something overwhelming. The part that, at some point, began to sense that something was wrong. That you, in a serious way, didn't get what you needed. Maybe something happened that deeply affected your sense of safety. Maybe you felt completely helpless and alone. Or maybe it was the moment you began to realize that you were carrying something others didn't, perhaps an inner wound, or something that held you back from being who you wanted to be. Say the things you needed to hear back then. Acknowledge what you, and the child within you, felt. Write as if you are a safe, caring adult who sees you, stands by you, and is present now, especially for the moments when something felt off, or when your needs were not met. Example opening. Dear one, I see how afraid and alone you were. I'm here for you now, and I will never leave you again. You did your very best. It was never your fault, the situation was. The Shame Journal. Purpose: to make shame visible, and begin breaking the silence and the cycle. How to do it: every time you feel shame, or think you might be feeling it, write down what happened or what you did. What you said to yourself, how you treated yourself. How it felt in your body. What you wanted to do: hide, get angry, apologize, go silent. What you actually needed. This brings awareness and helps loosen shame's grip by shining a light on it. The Self-Compassion Mirror. Purpose: to practice a warmer, more nurturing inner voice. How to do it: each morning, stand in front of the mirror. You can place your hand on your heart if it feels okay and look yourself deeply in your eyes. Stay there, do not just run away, if it feels difficult, and say gently, lovingly, you are valuable just as you are, and worthy of all the love in the world. I love you. With everything you feel and carry. Do this regardless of whether you believe the words or not. Hearing them out loud makes a difference. What would I say to my best friend? Purpose: to shift perspective and practice self-compassion. How to do it: when you feel ashamed about something, imagine your best friend had done the same thing. What would you say to them, and how would you say it? Write it down. Then say it to yourself. You can even read it every day, like a gentle reminder. Exposing the inner critic. Purpose. To distinguish between your true self and the voice of shame. How to do it. Write down what your inner voice says when you feel small, like a failure, or not enough. Give that voice a name. Maybe the judge, the punisher, the pusher. Then write a response to those words from the wise, kind, and loving voice within you, or imagine you're responding to a dear friend who is being hard on themselves. The safety list. Purpose. To create tangible resources when shame feels overwhelming. How to do it. Make a list of places where you feel safe, where you can be the version of yourself you enjoy being. People you trust completely, and with whom you can be vulnerable. Things that calm you, sounds, movements, routines, scents. Words or phrases that strengthen you, inspirational quotes, truths that help you expand. Keep the list nearby so you can reach for it when shame is triggered. The shame scene as in a dialogue. Purpose. To expose and begin reshaping old shame patterns. How to do it. Think of a moment when you experience strong shame. Describe it as a scene with three voices. The child in you, or the vulnerable part, what did they feel? What did they need? Did they want to speak up? The shamer or punisher, the one who tried to push you down, what did they say? What do you think they wanted? The wise adult in you today, how do you see the situation now? What was really needed in that moment? This strengthens your inner voice and helps reframe old memories with compassion and truth. Shared shame. Dare to be seen. Purpose. To experience shame in connection, not isolation. How to do it. Choose someone you deeply trust. Carefully, in small steps, share something you've carried shame for. Notice what happens when you are truly seen and heard with empathy. Sometimes it's enough to simply say, "I've been carrying something I felt ashamed of for a long time. Sometimes, I even feel ashamed of simply being who I am. And that's hard to put into words, but I want to try talking about it." Gratitude as a way to work with shame. Purpose. To acknowledge shame's protective side and soften the struggle against it. How to do it. Write a short letter, or just a few lines, to your shame. Describe your gratitude for the shame within you as something that tried to protect you. Perhaps something like, "Dear shame, I know you tried to keep me from being rejected. Thank you, but I don't need to hide anymore. If I may offer one more practice, a slightly stronger one. The very moment you even slightly sense that you might be acting from shame, stop. as if you ran into a concrete wall. Pull the emergency brake. Do everything you can to pause, no matter what your thoughts are telling you. Because your thoughts will likely do everything they can to get you to keep going. They'll want you to stay quiet, to stay small, to not take up space. They'll try to convince you that you don't get to be who you truly are or who you want to be. No matter how convincing those thoughts may sound, grab hold of something, anything. Do whatever you must. But don't keep going in that same direction. Because if you do, there may come a moment when you realize, once again, that you've abandoned yourself. That you've let shame push you aside. If you need to cry, scream, sit down on the floor, do it. Do whatever it takes to not continue walking away from yourself. Not once more, when you feel, even just a little, that shame is running the show again. Even if it's hard to take in or believe, you have just as much right to exist, to be, and to have your needs met, as anyone else. I'd like to end with a neurological perspective on shame. What do the brain and body need in order to begin freeing themselves from unhealthy shame? For shame to begin loosening its grip, certain conditions need to be in place, not just in the mind, but in the nervous system itself. Because shame isn't just a feeling that comes from your thoughts, it's something you feel through your entire body, like a bodily memory. And that memory is also a neurological state, or a kind of programming, that requires concrete and lasting safety and reprogramming before it can begin to let go. Here are a few keys from a neurological point of view. Safe activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. For the body to relax out of shame's defense responses, freezing, collapse, emotional shutdown, the nervous system needs to feel safe. It's only when the body senses safety that the brain can begin to take in new perspectives, and possibly change its programming. This isn't about thinking your way out of shame. It's about regulating the nervous system so that it becomes possible, even imaginable, to receive compassion. Especially from yourself. A calm and attuned relationship, so-called co-regulation. Co-regulation means that two people help each other feel safe and settled, through presence, empathy, and body language. It happens when someone listens genuinely, gives you a warm look, or holds your hand and truly sees and acknowledges what you're saying, and you can feel it. You're being seen, heard, understood. It's in that moment of contact, when someone sees you, stays with you, and doesn't turn away, that your body can begin to understand. I'm not alone. I get to exist. I'm allowed to feel what I feel and need what I need. Our brains are built to heal in relationship. When someone meets us with warmth and empathy, especially in the places we feel most ashamed, it activates the insula, the brain center for inner sensing, and our social safety system. It quiets the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, and shame begins to lose its grip. Shame needs empathetic eyes in order to dissolve. Isolation strengthens it. Connection makes it human. New experiences, not just new thoughts. It's not enough to know that you're valuable. Your brain needs to feel it, again and again, in real-life situations. When you, despite shame, dare to be open, dare to receive warmth, or set a boundary, new neural pathways are created. Over time, the brain begins to rewrite the story of who you are, and you finally begin to find yourself again. Not just survive, but live, need, and be, as the deeply worthy human being you are. Self-compassion activates the brain's safety network. When you practice self-compassion, through touch, kind words, or loving inner dialogue, you activate the vagus nerve and brain areas linked to safety and belonging. This creates a new alternative to shame's old message. I'm not wrong. I'm enough as I am. I'm human. Silence and presence, mindful awareness. Practices that quiet the mind, such as meditation, mindful breathing, or simply being in nature, help soothe the overactive shame pathways in the brain. They make space for what you may not have been ready to feel before, but what can now be welcomed, without taking over. Summary. To begin healing from unhealthy shame, the brain and body need to experience safety in the body, empathic connection, a kind and loving inner voice, new, healing experiences, quiet presence where you are allowed to simply exist. Then, gradually, shame can loosen its grip, and you begin to step into who you truly are and have always been. Well, you've now listened to the end of this episode, and once again, you've shown that you care. If this touched something in you or felt helpful, you're warmly invited to support by liking or sharing it with someone who might need it too.